Inoue was incredible. Nakatani had some moments in the fight, but Inoue just showed how good he is. Yeah, used his jab amazing, used his feet incredibly, which, yeah, he's a master. And I think Naoya Inoue is the #1 pound for pound. I think Inoue can become undisputed at featherweight because he's so good. I know Bam's moving up to bantamweight, and then there's obviously the talk that he might even go up and fight Naoya Inoue next. Yeah. You know, like just jumping up 2 weight divisions. I just don't think he's going to give himself a chance of winning the fight. I know some people seem to think that he's starting to slow down and things. I don't think so. I think Inoue is in his peak.
Thank you so much for making the time again, Jason.
Pleasure, mate. It's good to speak to you again.
Yeah, you too. How have you been?
Yeah, been good, mate. Been good. Yeah, you?
Oh, all good, all good. From our last conversation and video, all the comments were super positive. There were a lot of people like, oh, I didn't know he was such a nice guy.
Hopefully they think the same.
It's one of those things because I think from the Japanese boxing fans, you were always kind of like the enemy in a way because you fought Naoya, Takei, and Tenshin.
Yeah.
But then when you actually get to hear you talk like for this long, like for an hour instead of just like an official media interview, you actually kind of get to know the person a little bit.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad people enjoyed it.
Yeah, and also I really enjoy talking to you too. It's great to hear your opinion about these boxing fights in Japan because it doesn't get a lot of coverage outside of Japan, right? Because the lower weight classes aren't super popular, especially in the States.
Yeah, that's a shame. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm a massive fan of the lighter weight classes, funnily enough. So I've always loved boxing in Japan, but yeah, I don't think you get the love you deserve in America, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Congratulations on your win, by the way. It was a very one-sided, unanimous victory, and now you're 2 in a row wins since the Tenshin fight. You called out Takuma recently on SNS, and he had a great performance against Ioka, so I definitely want to get your thoughts about that later. But before that, your brother, Andrew Maloney, is actually going to be fighting for the IBF Super Flyweight title here in Japan against Willy Baldo Garcia, I believe. Will you be in his corner for that fight?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So I'll be in Japan in a few weeks' time.
That's cool. Is it since the Tenshin bout that you'll be coming over to Japan?
Yeah, first time since the Tenshin bout, yeah.
How is Japan, by the way? How do you like it?
Yeah, I love Japan. I've been there 4 times now. And yeah, it's somewhere that I'll continue to travel as much as I can, I think. Even after boxing, I'd love to go there. I'd love to take my family over there one day. But yeah, I love Japan. I love it.
How's the food?
My favorite. That's my favorite food, Japanese food. Yeah.
Do you have like a...
Where do you live?
I live in Chiba, so Tokyo's here, and Chiba is like right next to Tokyo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you're ever around the Tokyo area, I'd definitely love to meet up with you sometime. That would be cool.
Yeah, well, probably will be next month. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have a favorite dish, by the way?
I don't know. All of them. Yakiniku is probably my favorite if I was to choose one. But I love sushi. I love ramen. I love all of them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's like the most popular dish in Australia, by the way?
I don't know. Australia doesn't really have a food. Like we do a lot of barbecues. We eat a lot of steak. Yeah, we don't really have like a traditional Australian cuisine. All different foods, you know. People love Italian food, Mexican food, Japanese food. You know, like we take everyone's food and we just love it. Yeah.
It's like the best of all the worlds.
Yeah, that's it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Going back to the super flyweight topic, Bam's going to be going up to bantamweight, so that means pretty much I think all the belts besides the one your brother and Garcia is going to be fighting for are going to be up for grabs, I think. So that's going to be quite an exciting division in just about a bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know Andrew's, he obviously wants to and will win the IBF title, and then I know he would love to fight Bam for undisputed, but I know Bam's moving up to bantamweight, and then there's obviously the talk that he might even go up and fight Naoya Inoue next. Yeah. So who knows what Bam's going to do. But yeah, it's exciting to see what happens, and whether Andrew fights Bam or not, there's big opportunities for him to collect belts in the super flyweight division.
For sure. There's also a lot of Japanese boxers in that division. There's Teraji, Tsuboi, Akui. So there's a lot of exciting matches we could hopefully get together in the future.
For sure.
Inoue Nakatani's fight, it was a big event in Japan. It sold out. It did some great numbers, I believe. What did you think about the fight?
Yeah, I thought it was a great fight. It probably went similar to how I expected. I guess the fight didn't have the drama, or it didn't have any knockdowns, or no one really got seriously hurt apart from Nakatani's orbital bone. Or there was no like real big moments in the fight. But I'm a boxing fan, so I can appreciate a tactical chess match, and Inoue was incredible. Nakatani had some moments in the fight, but Inoue just showed how good he is. I was excited to see how he'd deal with Nakatani's style, and yeah, he didn't really get in too much trouble, didn't really get hit that much at all. So yeah, he's special.
I think up to the 9th or 10th, about the 9th, I believe, Nakatani was kind of laid back a little bit. Were you surprised that he wasn't pushing the action a little bit more earlier in the rounds?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I can see why you're tentative early. Either of them makes one mistake, the fight could be over. But I think I expected Nakatani maybe to sort of press a bit more once he was losing. I thought, yeah, you probably roll the dice and take a few more risks. But it's hard against Inoue. I know what it's like. So yeah, I thought he might take a few more risks, but in a fight like that with so much on the line, sometimes it's hard.
Right. Was there anything else that kind of surprised you in that fight?
Oh, not really. I mean, I think Nakatani was having a moment later in the fight, just before the head clash, and he looked like he was starting to gain some real serious momentum, and then the head clash sort of put an end to that, which I think it came at a good time for Inoue, but who knows? I mean, Inoue would have probably found a way out and, stole the momentum back, but I thought he was in a little bit of trouble at one stage there, which was going to be interesting had it not been for the head clash.
Right. I agree with you. With that headbutt, which was a little bit unfortunate, kind of destroyed any momentum Nakatani had built up to that point.
Yeah, it did.
What do you think about that? Was that like just the size of Nakatani and the punching power, and just someone that large coming forward and that aggressive towards you was giving Inoue problems? I
don't know. Yeah, Inoue just sort of went through a patch there where he looked like he was vulnerable. He was like first time ever you've seen him sort of properly vulnerable. Probably I guess not many times, like aside from the knockdowns. But yeah, he was sort of like, oh wow, hang on, like is Nakatani gonna get on top of him here? And then obviously the head clash, and then sort of killed the momentum, and then he regained his composure. But yeah, it was an interesting part of the fight, and I guess there's always that what if that head clash didn't happen? What was gonna eventuate? But Inoue is so good, he was probably gonna find his way out somehow.
Right. So even without the head clash, he probably would have found a way around there. Is I guess your opinion?
I think so, but you never know. That's what's exciting about boxing. Anything can happen, but. Yeah, no, he's just so good. He barely took a punch, like a serious punch, for the whole 12 rounds. So, yeah, it's amazing.
What do you think was the key factor in Inoue stealing up rounds early on? It looks like his speed and just the way he used his jab was difficult for Nakatani to deal with. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, used his jab amazing. Used his feet incredibly, which. I know I've spoken a few times about Inoue's feet. They're so fast. He's so good at getting in and getting out of trouble. And yeah, it was amazing to see that even with Nakatani's long reach, that Inoue was able to avoid danger. Get in, which is hard, and then obviously land his shots and get out safely. He's a master, and I think his experience in those big fights enabled him to sort of start the fight well. I think Nakatani's been in big fights, but not like that, not of that level, which Inoue maybe had that experience in. He's been at that, on the big stage a lot, and I think he used his experience really well in the first few rounds just to stay disciplined and stay focused and win the rounds.
Did Nakatani's performance, surpass your expectations?
No, I don't think so. No, I thought he fought a good fight, but yeah, when you see little glimpses of what he was able to do in the later rounds, you sort of think, what if he had have pressed a bit more, or been a bit more active, or thrown his punches a bit more early, and maybe brought the fight a bit more early in the fight. But yeah, I know it's easier said than done.
That's true. What do you think? Do you think this warrants a rematch later in the future? Maybe if Inoue goes to featherweight and Nakatani, he's so big, you would imagine he's going to go up to featherweight eventually. What do you think?
Yeah. I think people will, I'd like to see it again eventually. I think maybe Nakatani will need to go on a bit of a winning streak and regain a bit of excitement and have people sort of thinking, you know, that he's improved enough to maybe win the fight next time around. But yeah, myself, I'd love to see it again, but maybe not straight away. But yeah, if Inoue moves up and Nakatani is able to, I guess, dominate the super bantamweight division, then I think people will be excited to see it again.
I don't know if you're keeping track of the score, but there was a little bit of, not controversy because Inoue won the decision 3-0, but a lot of boxing experts in Japan had the opinion that I think there was one judge that had it like 2 points difference, and that was like a little bit too close is what a lot of people over here think. But then looking over at the experts in the States, some people think that that was, you know, that was correct, it was justified. But I don't know if you're keeping track of the points, but what do you think?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't score round by round the fight, but I think it was probably wider than that. You know, maybe 9-3 or 8-4 possibly. You know, there was some close rounds in there, that maybe swing rounds that could go either way, but I felt that Inoue definitely won the fight. And yeah, probably 2 rounds is too close, I think.
Those kind of fights are probably pretty difficult, I would imagine, especially if you're ringside and you know it's so fast. You can't actually see if he's landing or not. And Nakatani's missing punches by like this, so it's like
100%. And in a fight that, you know, with credit to both fighters, not a lot of real big clean punches landed, so that they're hard rounds to score sometimes.
The result was what everyone was expecting, but the way the fight played out was kind of I think a lot of us expected more of a rock him sock him somewhere, or like someone was going to go down, but then it was kind of like this technical chess match, which was cool to see. It was very exciting, but it kind of surprised a lot of people. I think so. Like, but when you've got guys that are on such a high level, they're both defensively sound, they're both got great offensive as well, obviously, but I think, you know, these guys are probably too clever to just, you know, go to war. I think that it was always probably going to be a chess match, and some people can't appreciate that, but as I said earlier, I'm a true boxing fan, and I can appreciate a chess match, and I can sort of see the skill level that it takes to perform, you know, both of them, the skill level that it took from both of them to produce a fight like that. Is that something that just happens when two guys at the world-class level fight each other? Like, I guess Crawford Canelo was kind of like that. It wasn't really a rock him, sock him. Maybe more so in this modern day boxing age when two of the best fight each other. A lot of the times it turns out to be like a chess match just because they're so good. But I guess in the older boxing days, it was like, even though they were both the best in the world, they would just go to war. Is that something that we're just going to see more in this modern day?
No, I don't know. I hope not. It's hard. Like, every time it seems like there's a fight of that magnitude that's just so built up and so important, sometimes the fight doesn't produce. Like, you know, like Mayweather Pacquiao is a prime example that it was fairly, in some people's eyes, a boring fight. And I think when there's so much on the line that neither fighter really wants to make a mistake because they both want to win so bad. But in saying that, like, when it gets to a stage in a fight like that where there's so much on the line, you hope that a fighter will, or the fighter that's losing might just go, I'm going to go out on my shield and risk it all because I want victory so bad. Which, you know, that's why, you know, again, I respect Nakatani and his performance, but I guess you were wanting him to do more earlier in the fight and try harder and take more risks because you know that he's got more in him and he's capable of more, and you want to see the fight, you want to see, you know, the drama, you want to see knockdowns, you want to see someone hurt, you want to see how they respond. And yeah, obviously that hasn't happened in like the Crawford Canelo or the Mayweather Pacquiao or the big fights of the recent times. And then, you know, they're getting paid so much and there's such a big important fight and they won't take the risks, and then you go to the Kurokian Hall and watch a 4-rounder and these guys are getting paid not very much and they go to war like their life depends on it and you love it. So yeah, I mean, of course you hope that some of the bigger fights will live up to the hype, but I understand the skill level required and the discipline required from Inoue to box the performance that he boxed.
It's true. Because of the knockdowns he suffered, he's a lot more cautious and he's fighting smarter, I guess is the right word.
And he's winning the fight, and there's so much on the line, so why take risks? Whereas I guess just in the other instance, you're saying when you're looking at Nakatani, like, this is the biggest fight in Japanese history, and you're losing, and you probably know you're losing. Like, give me more. But again, it's hard. And of course, in the later rounds, he's got a fractured orbital bone, and he's still pressing. So yeah, I mean, he's still a warrior. But of course, as a fan, you just always want more. But and you want to see the drama. But it's hard. You know, this is boxing at the highest level, and sometimes, you know, there's just going to be a chess match.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy for us fans to say, God, Nakatani, if he just only went harder at the 6th or 7th round, you might have won.
And then yeah, exactly. And then he says to everyone that's watching on the couch, you try fighting Inoue with a fractured orbital bone and see how much of a warrior you are. You know, like, yeah, I know. Yeah,
it must be hard when you're just like face to face with, especially Naoya. But I think even Jason, you had that kind of fight with Takei, right? In the 12th round, you almost finished him. But for like, I guess your fans would be like, come on, Jason.
Do more. I know. I watch the fight and I say, what are you doing? Oh, like, I tell you, like after Takai's fight, I couldn't sleep that night. I was so frustrated at myself because of that reason. It's like, how did I lose to Kai? And that's not taking any credit away from him. That really upset me. It was like, oh, like obviously it's been a while since that loss now, and it still hurts me. But when I saw him in that performance the other night, I just, how did I lose to him, and how did I let that slip? And again, like you're saying, I can sit on the couch and watch myself in that fight and just say, what are you doing? Like, do more. But sometimes when you're in the ring, it's hard, and sometimes the opponent doesn't allow you to do more. It's easier said than done, but
definitely.
Oh man, that hurt me big time.
we got to talk about Takei's fight later on. But how would you explain that to a casual fan who's never boxed before, where you know from the outside that he should be more aggressive, but the boxer himself just can't get himself to get moving? How do you explain that to someone that's never boxed or fought?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Sometimes the subtle things that are happening inside the ring and the way that the opponent is controlling, whether it's, you know, with their feet or with their gut or with their punches or with their jab. Like sometimes the opponent is doing subtle things that maybe it's hard to pick up watching from the outside, but on the inside, they're just negating your strengths or stopping you from doing something that you're trying to do. And yes, it's a lot harder inside the ring than sometimes it appears watching on TV. But yeah, I don't know. Like for me, there's still those fights that you watch. Like particularly if I watch my own fights, I'm a harsh critic, and I watch and think, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why were you doing that? You know, it's hard, but it's easy to obviously look back and say I should have done this. But in the actual moment, it's hard. It's you know, it is a chess match at the highest level, and it's happening at a million miles an hour, and one mistake and the fight's over. So that's why it's the hardest sport in the world.
There's a lot of stuff going in between the two boxers that probably we can't see from the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can be a little bit less judgmental, fans.
Yeah. I don't think that'll ever happen.
But it is what makes the sport, I guess, it's a part of what makes it fun for normal folks too, where, you know, we can just sit back and just say, you know, oh, he should have done this. And it's kind of like how we enjoy the sport with other casual fans, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Just part of it. Inoue beat Nakatani, and he moved back to the pound-for-pound #1 rankings, which I think is, you know, justified. I agree with that, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's justified. The pound-for-pound discussion is always one that people will debate and argue about, but I think Inoue is the #1 pound-for-pound, and he deserves that spot.
Especially with Crawford, who just retired. There's Usyk would be #2, but I mean, Usyk, he beat Fury twice, and I think next he's fighting a kickboxer, I believe. It's quite a surprising match.
It is a surprising match, and I think that probably justifies Inoue's position as number one, because he's out there testing himself against another undefeated multiple weight world champion in Junton Nakatani, and then Usyk, he has achieved amazing things throughout his career, but I guess for what he's doing at this current time in the sport, fighting a kickboxer, and where's he go after that? Like, does he rematch Fury again, who we've all seen him beat? Like, I just, there's not probably the true challenges for Usyk at the moment, which obviously that's because he's so good, but I think Inoue is taking the harder fights, he's more active, he's pushing the limits more, and he deserves the recognition.
And I believe he said he has one more fight at super bantamweight, and we're all kind of speculating that's going to be Bam, who's going to move up to bantamweight and fight the interim champion in Vargas. And I guess we're all expecting him to clear that, no problem, and then he's going to jump up to super bantamweight. So essentially he's going to jump up 2 weight classes if the fight was going to happen, which is kind of a, it's a big leap. And then he's going to fight the top of the division in Naoya Inoue. So, it's kind of like stacking a lot of difficulties. But what do you think? Is it just too much too soon?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's a fantasy fight that everyone wants to see, but, like, just jumping up 2 weight divisions, it's just, I think he's just up against the odds. I just don't think he's going to give himself a chance of winning the fight doing that. And, he won't have the time, I don't think, to build up properly to the weight and go into that with the right size and strength. Inoue's been at 122 for a while now, and you've seen his body transform and how much stronger he appears, whereas Bam's not going to have the time to do that. And, he's not a big frame, so I can't see him putting weight on quickly and being strong at that weight. Of course, he's very talented, but so is Inoue. And when you've got 2 talented guys and one's much bigger and stronger, I just don't think Bam's given himself the chance of winning that fight. Yeah, it's still a great fight that people want to see, but I don't think the timing's right for it. But, of course, when there's, I guess, people wanting to see the fight and the thought that Inoue's going to move up to featherweight, and then that gap becomes even bigger, and obviously they must be offering him good money to do the fight. So, of course, he's sort of thinking it's take the fight now or maybe it never happens. So, of course, there's the pressure on him to take the fight now. But, of course, I think himself and his team would know that, geez, they would love more time to build up into that division and do the fight later. But, of course, sometimes you feel like it's now or never, and the pressure is now to take the fight. But, I would like to see Bam stay at super flyweight and fight my brother for undisputed, but and then come up to bantamweight. But, they've got to make their own decisions.
Right. So it's kind of like they're just rushing things because Naoya might go up to featherweight, and it's kind of like a now or never move.
I feel, and they probably feel that, Bam's next going to move to bantamweight, but then if Inoue's at featherweight, then that gap remains the same. So, he's just got to take the risk and go up 2 weights. But I just don't think that gives himself the best chance of winning the fight, because you're just giving away too much size and strength. But look, respect for taking the fight. If I was in his shoes, I'd probably do the same. It's a fight that, I guess, what if he wins? That's amazing. Like, he's now the king of boxing. He's probably pound for pound number 1 if he beats Inoue. So there's a lot of, positives, and maybe no one's giving him much of a chance to win because he's going up 2 weight divisions. So, there's no real risk and there's a lot of reward. I can see why he would do it. But if you're looking at giving yourself the absolute best chance of winning the fight, then going up 2 weight divisions is not giving yourself the best chance of winning.
It's true. But it looks like they're going to, I mean, just from looking on the interviews and stuff like that, I think even Alak Sheikh was saying he was very interested in the fight. So it looks like they're actually going in that direction. Of course, if he can get past Vargas. I mean, before Crawford fought Canelo, he kind of had a rough fight after he moved up 1 weight class. And then he was going to go up 2 more to fight Canelo. And when it was a rumor, we were like, there's no chance Crawford can take it. And then when it actually got decided, the closer it got to the fight, the more people were and experts were, well, Crawford might, he might actually pull it off. So I wonder if this is just one of those things too, because I guess it all depends on what he can do against Vargas at bantamweight.
Yeah, of course. I think with that one, it was a little bit different. Stylistically, I thought that Crawford had a lot of advantages against a guy like Canelo. And, I think a lot of people thought that Canelo sometimes has trouble with movers and, Crawford being so slick and a switch hitter, even though he's a little bit smaller, maybe Crawford had a good chance. And Crawford had a lot of time to build into that size, and he actually entered the fight a lot bigger than people maybe thought.
It's true.
And Crawford's a pretty big frame, and Canelo's a shorter guy. So I think that weight advantage to Canelo wasn't so much. Whereas I think in this case, I don't see Bam stylistically giving Inoue so much trouble like when we were looking at Canelo Crawford. And then I don't think that Bam's got the time to put on the quality, size and strength that Crawford had. So yeah, I know that there's similarities to the fights and that Crawford was able to pull it off, but I think this is a tougher task for Bam to go up and pull it off against Inoue.
It's true. Especially if you consider Inoue now being kind of close to his peak still, which, I mean, do you consider him still quite up there in his best days?
I still think Inoue is at his peak, yeah. Yeah, I know some people seem to think that he's starting to slow down and things. I don't think so. I think Inoue is in his peak.
I see. So that's a really tough fight for Bam then.
Yeah.
It would be a good, big event, but Bam pulling it off would be quite a, it would be a big upset, I guess.
Yes.
Would be the word.
Yeah.
What do you think about Naoya going up to featherweight then after you saw his performance against Nakatani? How would he fare there?
I think Inoue can become undisputed at featherweight. That's because he's so good, but he's going to start running into some tougher challenges at that weight. Even though I don't think there's any boxers on his level at that weight, but you're now coming up against some pretty big guys.
Yes.
Espinosa's a big guy, and even like the physical strength of some of those guys like Figueroa and Nick Ball and Shushu Carrington and some of the big guys in that division. I think there's going to be some harder fights for Inoue up there. But if he does it how he has with super bantamweight and gradually builds and puts on a little bit of size and strength, and I think he can become undisputed and beat all those guys at featherweight. But he's starting to, I guess, push the boundaries. He's probably hit his limit there at featherweight. I don't think he can go much heavier than featherweight, and I don't think he will. I think he knows that. But I can't see any featherweights beating him. But, you're starting to give these guys a bit more of a chance because they're so much bigger than him.
Right. So featherweight is where we actually get to see him kind of bump into that wall of weight difference and size difference.
Yeah. You're starting to give the opponent some advantages that, even though he's superior in terms of skill and speed and power, you're starting to give these guys an advantage of size that's hard to overcome. Well,
after hearing your thoughts of him going up to featherweight, I'd much rather see him go up to featherweight than fight Bam at super bantamweight.
I would too, but then, there's always going to be the people that think that Bam can beat Inoue. So doing that fight before he moves up is good. I can't blame either fighter. I think it's a great fight. I would love to see the fight. So, I can understand why they want to do that fight.
Right, it's true. Well, Bam's just got such a big name, even in the States. So I guess it's just easy to promote. It's easy to sell. People will be interested in it. And even in Japan, it'll probably be a pretty big deal. It'll be a bigger event probably against Bam than going up to featherweight, maybe. Because of the name value difference with the featherweight champions and
I
Bam
agree.
Rodriguez.
I agree.
Okay, but I can't control any of that, so I guess I'll just sit back and watch and enjoy whatever happens.
That's right.
So moving on, Takuma had a great performance against Ioka.